Okay, this podcast is going to go over routing in the LAN. We'll cover routing with a layer 3 switch. We'll cover inter-VLAN routing on a router, and we will cover configuring a switch port as a routed interface. So first off, we need to configure the switches for VLANs. I've already put IP addresses on the hosts. This host is in VLAN. It needs to be in VLAN 100. It's 100.10. This host needs to be in VLAN 200. It's 200.10 for an IP address. This host needs to be VLAN 10, 10.10, VLAN 20, 20.10. I also want to configure my switch ports for port fast. So I'll go ahead and configure the switch ports. All right, so I put those VLANs in those ports, and now we'll do these other switch. I'll plug these guys into port 10 and 20. Messed up. I forgot to do the interface command, so that would have been fun. I'd have been like, why is it not working? All right, so my switch ports are in the proper VLANs now. Really, I have no connectivity because I have nothing to do routing. So we'll go ahead and do the layer 3 switch first. First thing we need to do is make sure the VLANs were created when I put them in the interface. So yeah, the VLANs got created. So VLAN 10 and 20 exist. So now we need to create the VLAN interfaces. We need to give those VLAN interfaces IP addresses. I've already set my host to use 100.1 and 200.1 as a default gateway. And I can never remember if I need to do no shutdown on layer 3 switches. So I'll do show IP int brief and see if my VLAN interfaces are up. So yeah, it says my VLAN interfaces are up and up. So in theory, I should be able to ping from VLAN 1 and 2 between VLAN 100 to VLAN 200 because I have VLAN interfaces in each VLAN with the IP address of my gateway. So let's go ahead and try that for fun. And we'll wait to see if it fails a couple times because a lot of times the first packet fails in the simulator. So fail, fail, we'll give it one more try. Fail, and it's gonna fail because with a layer 3 switch you have to tell it you want it to do routing because by default it will not do routing. So we need to put the IP routing command in to tell it it's a router. So now that I've told it's a router, in theory, my ping will work now, hopefully. In theory, my ping will work now, hopefully. My ping still didn't work, which is no good. So let's go figure out why my ping didn't work. We'll get a little extra troubleshooting practice now. Let's see if we can ping 100. Ping our gateway. That's why we start out. 100.1. I can ping my gateway. 200.1. I can ping the other side of my gateway. 200.2. I can ping my gateway. I can ping the other side of my gateway. Oh, I know what the problem is. Stupid. My IP address isn't .2. I have an IP address of .10. Hey, check that out. That's so awesome. So yeah, ping the right IP address and it works. So it wouldn't have worked before I did the IP routing. Let's take the IP routing off. and go ping the proper IP address and see that now it doesn't work like it's supposed to not work. All right, so hey, check it out. It's not working now, and let's go turn IP address. Just forget all that other stuff actually happened. I probably should like start over or go edit the video, but I'm not going to. So you got to benefit from my idiocy. So there you go. So that is configuring VLAN interfaces, switch virtual interfaces, the book calls them, for routing between VLANs. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and configure up here on this little LAN router on a stick, they like to call it, which is inter-VLAN routing. So that's where we use one router interface to route between multiple VLANs, and we're going to do that for VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. So your switch port that your router is connected to needs to be configured for trunking, so we'll go do that. That's gig 00, 01, gig 01. Switch port, mode, trunk, and we'll go do port fast on this guy too. All right, so switch port mode, trunk, port fast. Now we need to configure our interface for inter-VLAN routing. We're using 00 on the physical. Oh, CompT. On the physical interface, all you need to configure is no shutdown. I always spell shutdown wrong. And then you need to create some sub interfaces. I'm going to call my sub interfaces 0/0.10 and 0/0.20. So you can call your sub interfaces whatever number you want. The number you call your sub interface is not important or significant at all, other than the fact that you probably want to make it easy for you to know what VLAN it's for. So I'm doing VLAN 10, so I'm going to create my sub interface 0.10 to make it easier for me. So once you get your sub interface created, you need to tell it what VLAN you want it, what type of encapsulation to use, and what VLAN you want it to work for. So encapsulation .1Q 10. 10 is the VLAN number, and then I need to give it an IP address. Set my host for 10.1. All right, so that was sub interface 10 for VLAN 10. Now I'll create sub interface 20 for VLAN 20. This time I'm going to intentionally do something out of order to show you what you might see if you do things incorrectly. I'm going to try to give it the IP address before I set the encapsulation. And now I'm getting an error that says, hey, that doesn't work. It has to be set for trunking, for encapsulation. So that basically means you need to do the encapsulation command before you can give it an IP address. So now I'll go back and give it an IP address. So I have my two sub interfaces configured. I have my two sub interfaces configured with IP addresses. I have the encapsulation command in there telling which VLAN it should work for. The router is connected to a switch port, and I should have routes. So I have connected routes for 10.0 and 10.20.0 networks. So now, in theory, I should be able to ping between my PCs. I'll make sure I ping between the actual correct IP address this time instead of the incorrect IP address like I did earlier. So I'm going to go 20.10. And we'll wait for the first one to fail. And we'll wait for the second one to fail. The third one's going to work maybe. And things aren't going real well today with this video making. So I can ping my gateway. So I'm pinging the other side of my gateway. See if I can ping 20.10. Oh, check that out. I have a bad default gateway setting on my 20.10 PC, so there you go. That's the troubleshooting chapter. It worked for you. So let's go try to ping now. Hey, check that out. If you get everything set properly, things work. Pretty awesome how that happens. So now I can ping between these two VLANs and I can ping between these two VLANs, but what I can't do is ping from this side to that side. So in order to make this work, we need to configure this little network, and on this switch we're going to configure a routed interface, and on this router we're just going to configure 0.1 to have an IP address, and then we're going to add static default routes to both. So we'll go ahead and configure gig 0.1, just pick some IP address not used anywhere else. We'll use 5.1, no shutdown. I'll go ahead and add my static route. I'm putting 5.2 because that's what I'm going to configure this switch routed interface for. So I need to go configure the switch. So I'm going to go into, what interface did I use for that? Gig 0.1. Alright, whatever. And gig 0.1, I'm going to do no switch port, and I'm going to give it an IP address. And then I'm going to put a default route. So now, basically, what I told with my default static routes on my router, I said any traffic you don't know what to do with, send to this IP address, 5.2. And I told my switch, any traffic you don't know what to do with, send to 5.1. So now, in theory, I should be able to ping across to my 10.10 network and 20.10 network. Hey, check that out. It worked the first time. So I pinged from 100.10 to 10.10, and let's ping from 20.10 to 200.10. So there we go. So that pretty much covered everything in the current version of the IC&D2 book for routing in the LAN, except for layer 3 ether channels. I didn't cover that, but I'm not going to in this video. So basically, ping from here goes to the VLAN 1 interface, checks this routing table, says, oh, hey, I need to send that to the router, gets to this router, the router checks this routing table and says, oh, hey, I'm connected directly to that subnet. That needs to go out sub interface 10, and the traffic gets delivered over here. So that's pretty much a summary of the traffic flow.